The Earth wobbles on its axis. Over a 24,000-year cycle, this wobble causes the background stars to slowly drift across our horizon, an astronomical mechanism known as precessional slippage. Because of this drift, the constellations we see today no longer line up with the calendar dates they were assigned 2 millennia ago. For modern astronomy, this is the definitive proof that astrology is a broken system. If you were born under Aries, the sun was likely in Pisces. But the ancient Western Hermetic tradition, often called the Prisca Theologia, anticipated this. The Hermetic practitioners didn't base their calculations on distant clusters of burning gas. To them, the background stars were entirely secondary. This diagram illustrates the distinction between sidereal astrology, which tracks the shifting constellations, and tropical astrology, which operates on the fixed geometry of the Earth-Sun relationship. Here, the Earth sits epicenter, surrounded by strict, unchanging geometric rings. First-century scholars like Marcus Manilius and Claudius Ptolemy codified this system as a study of local orbital mechanics. Their maps focused on the immediate electromagnetic environment of our solar system. We are going to reconstruct this ancient Hermetic map from first principles. We will trace how a rigid physical structure dictates human consciousness. Because the system is anchored entirely to the angles of solar radiation hitting the Earth, the 24,000-year drift of the background stars is mathematically irrelevant to its internal logic. To understand this system, we start with the Earth's orbit, the ecliptic plane. Unrolled onto a flat graph, it forms a perfect sine wave. Right here, crossing the horizontal axis, is the vernal equinox, March 21st, an absolute physical equilibrium of equal light and darkness. In the Hermetic system, this specific geometric node is the true fixed definition of Aries. It has nothing to do with the constellation behind it. It marks the exact millisecond when the angle of solar radiation shifts, causing the light to increase and overtake the darkness in the northern hemisphere. The 12 signs of the zodiac are actually 12 distinct angles of solar magnetic radiation striking the Earth across a 365-day cycle. Isolating the 4 peak nodes of this sine wave gives us the cardinal cross, the 4 structural pillars of the Hermetic model. We return to the first node, the ascendant in the east, Aries. Because it marks the return of the light, ancient astrologers mapped this node to the genesis of biological life, the vitality of youth, and the formation of fundamental character. Moving up the wave, we hit the zenith in the north, Cancer. This represents the summer solstice, the highest angle of solar radiation the Earth receives. Biologically and psychologically, this peak translates to the prime of human life. In astrological houses, this zenith governs authority, maximum biological output, and public glory. The wave drops back to the equator at the descendant in the west, Libra. Here, the Earth hits its second equilibrium point, and the light begins to die. The physical dimming of the sun mirrors the fading twilight of human life, the conclusion of physical toil, the weighing of one's actions, and the concept of final judgment. Finally, the wave bottoms out at the nadir in the south, Capricorn. This is the winter solstice and the point of maximum atmospheric darkness. Correspondingly, this node governs the foundations, the hidden material sources of the underworld, and ultimate physical death. The physical fluctuations of the annual light cycle provide the geometric framework ancient scholars used to define the stages of human life. This diagram shows the other half of the system. While the sine wave tracks the horizontal path of the sun, these concentric rings map the vertical axis of the local solar system. Hermetic thinkers described these orbital rings as the planetary vestments. They believed that for a consciousness to incarnate physically, it had to descend through these specific layers. The outermost ring is Saturn. In Greek, Saturn is Chronos, the keeper of time. This boundary marks the exact point where eternal consciousness becomes bound by physical limitation and the ticking clock. From there, the descent passes sequentially through the inner spheres: Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury. Each orbit adds a heavier layer of psychological density and material characteristics to the incoming life. The final gate is the Moon. Representing the biological mother and physical womb, it marks the transition into solid matter. In this tradition, these macrocosmic orbital rings serve as a structural blueprint for the layers of human consciousness. This brings us to the foundational axiom of the Hermetic tradition: as above, so below. The specific geometry of the solar system we just built maps flawlessly onto ancient anatomical schematics. This diagram is the Kabbalistic tree of life. The 7 planetary spheres correspond exactly to the Sephiroth, particularly along the central vertical pillar, mapping the identical descending hierarchy. These exact same 7 planetary spheres correlate with the Eastern chakra system, and anatomically to the 7 glands of the human endocrine system. The alignment is precise. The Sun, acting as the life-giving center of the solar system, maps to the heart chakra. Saturn, the cold outermost boundary, maps to the crown. Across entirely separate ancient cultures, the physical geometry of the solar system was utilized as the ultimate architectural blueprint for the human body. The zodiac is an intricate schematic of Earth's local atmospheric and magnetic conditions, divided into 12 phases across a 365-day light cycle. Modern scientific consensus views the cosmos as a mechanical, dead void, completely disconnected from human biology. The geometric logic of the Prisca Theologia presents an intellectual framework where celestial motion and human biology are inextricably linked. In this worldview, the solar system operates as an integrated, living mechanism. The framework of Hermetic astrology suggests that the geometry of time and light functions as the foundational map of the human experience.